Once upon a time, there was a girl called Little Red Riding Hood. Little Red always had to walk through the woods to bring food to her sickly grandmother. Her grandmother was riddled with dementia, and it took quite a while for Little Red to get there due to constant distractions. On one of her trips, the big bad wolf hunts down the small girl. He tracks her by the bloody stench of her narky phase. He then confronts her and asks her where she might be going. Naively, Little Red tells the wolf that she was going to her grandmother's house. As thoughts pulse through the wolf's mind, he suggests that she stop and buy her grandmother some flowers. Little Red, who is known for losing focus due to her ADHD, delightfully agrees and heads off on a little bit of a detour. This little detour gives the dastardly big bad wolf just a chance to get Little Red like intentionally planned. Yet now, the grandmother was his main objective. The big bad wolf barges into the grandmother's house and catches her off guard. She begins calling the wolf over as if he were a dog. She proceeds to feed it scraps of food. As she turns around into the kitchen to get more food, the wolf says, "Oh my mother, hasn't it been a while since you abandoned me in the forest? See, all those drugs like the depressants and hallucinogens you took mutated me as an embryo. Then by birth you cast me off like a dirty animal. I am your son." The wolf consumes her as she struggles to escape. He forces her body down his throat. The wolf then proceeds to take the personality of the grandmother as his own, and even dresses up as her and lies in bed, waiting for Little Red's arrival. Little Red knocks on the door and the wolf lightly whispers, "Come on in, honey." She approaches the bed slowly and says, "Hey Grandma, have you got a new stove?" The wolf plays it off and nods. Little Red begins to linger closer to the bed, and as she reaches the bedside, the wolf reaches his arms up and grabs at her, narrowly missing her, as she leans down and proceeds to say, "Look, a rock." The wolf, furious, his eyes aslump. He gets out of bed, shredding his costume. He gives off a demonic smile. Little Red leans up and looks at the exposed wolf. She says, "Golly, Grandma, how long has it been since you shaved? And wow, someone needs a trip to the dentist." The anger nearly overwhelming the wolf, he says, "You little brat, you have evaded me far too long." He grabs her as she struggles and wiggles trying to break free, yet the wolf eats her in the same manner as she ate the grandma. He then proceeds to take the sopping wet cloak of Little Red from his mouth and wears it, saying, "See, Grandma, I told you I would have brought you some food," and proceeding to put on the bonnet and in an elderly voice saying, "Thank you, dearie." And finally back in his real voice, he says, "Will the both of you just shut it?" The wolf paces towards the door, preparing to exit the cottage. The door is split in half and busted down as a burly man walks in wearing a plaid shirt and overalls. With an axe in hand, he approaches the wolf and says, "Where's Grandma?" The lumberjack yelled, his voice echoing through the cabin. "I'm right here, dear," the wolf responded. The lumberjack then says, "Oh, big bad wolf, I can see that you've eaten Grandma and Little Red. You must have developed their personalities with their split personality disorder brought on by your schizophrenia." The wolf replies quite quickly with, "There's no chance that I would ever develop such a thing, you dirty liar." The wolf has a sudden change of personality and ferociously he attacks the lumberjack out of rage, yelling, "She treated me like dirt and embraced her other children, so I seek revenge on my grandma, and finally all my eternal drive has been fulfilled." The lumberjack swiftly counters, thrusting his big axe into the center of the wolf's body, hacking it open. Within a seemingly unscathed, Little Red crawls out, sobbing deeply over the loss of her grandma, who has been digested right in front of her eyes. The lumberjack begins speaking to Little Red. "Hey, are you okay?" he whispers to her. Little Red, grasping for air, says, "Please, help me." The lumberjack begins to stare down Little Red, deducing what is wrong with her. "I do in fact believe you are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder," he says to the little girl. He then surveys the wolf's open corpse to find the stench of alcohol. He then deduces that the wolf had remembered repressed memories, and these things had caused him to have a lower self-concept, as well as a raised anger level due to the much alcohol in his liver. This caused him to malfunction and attack. Yet unfortunately, he says to the little girl, You are going to have to undergo a lobotomy. This will help clear up your PTSD and ADHD. After the lobotomy, Little Red had no more problems with their disorders. Yet, the lobotomy caused her optical nerve to be dysfunctional, and she will no longer be able to reach the third stage of the sexual response cycle as a result as well. Even though this occurred, this didn't stop her from going up and loving the lumberjack and reproducing. As she grew older, the lumberjack knew she was loving, began shaping her into the perfect sandwich maker.